Greetings, Mark Garang here, publisher of the Conway Daily Sun. And today my guest is Chris Lewey, old friend and a somewhat regular guest here.
Yeah. It's been a month or so since.
Month or so? No,
maybe two.
I think it was last winter in January.
Oh God.
But anyway, so Chris is. We used to talk about just wildlife and birds.
Yeah.
But you're a candidate now for.
That's still wildlife. That's still considered wildlife. Okay. I'll get into that.
Okay, so we're going to talk about. I mean, we'll hit all the buttons here, and or as I said in the email, two birds with one stone.
Yes, which.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about the, and you're with, you are Raven Interpretive Program. So that's
Right.
what you do, and you go all over the world. You do stuff. You have the work with Tin Mountain.
Absolutely.
I think you have a
yeah.
birder. Do you have a birder thing coming up with the bog?
Yes, yeah. Tin Mountain does bird outings every Saturday now through the month of May. It's a big month for getting folks out to see the migrants that are coming through and some of the residents that are there. So every Saturday they do it, and I'm leading the trip on Saturday the 16th.
That's the bog?
At the bog, yeah.
Bronco
Which you've
bog.
been to.
Yeah, no,
you've been on some of those trips before. It's a great time. It's simple. It's a nice group of folks that come out.
Yeah, and you guys drink in the morning. That's what I really like.
Yes, a lot of coffee.
No.
I want to get that clear. But you do see twice as many if you later in the day you can see twice as many birds.
It's amazing.
By
So
adding
we can
that
talk
on.
about your candidacy. We've talked about your candidacy before.
Yes.
But what's interesting, we're going to talk about Maine politics in general, and Graham Plattner, who's like the one that can cut lightning in a bottle U.S. Senate candidate, and you spent some time with him. I
spent a little bit of time with him. I met him, and he really came out of nowhere. As you know, you and I were talking last April. I was thinking about this. We were talking about me running for the House. And
you're okay. Just to get that, it's Oxford County, District 82.
82, right?
And that's Bridgeton, Freiburg,
Lovell, Porter, and Hiram.
Okay.
Yeah. Five towns, and I live in Freiburg. So you and I were talking about it just when I was sort of thinking about it. Now over a year ago, unbelievably, the time goes by so fast, and Plattner's name was not on the table at all. He was, didn't exist. And then I believe it was August, someone said, "Hey, have you heard about this guy named Plattner, who's going to run for the Senate?" And no one had heard of him. And apparently, he's been an activist up in Sullivan, Maine, on the coast, an oyster fisherman.
He's an oyster farmer, right?
Yep. He's elected to the select board of his town. He's a selectman, so he does have some experience in politics. But he came out of nowhere, and I had the opportunity. He spoke in Freiburg just a few weeks ago, and he's really impressive.
Why?
Really impressive.
How did he? It is amazing. Politicians, I mean, you have to be. You got to catch lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
You got to be like an Obama. Trump has it. You got to have that thing. You know. And how did he?
It's charismatic, which I think, and you probably know better than I do. That's like charisma. That's like being blessed by Christ, right? Isn't that where the derivative of the word comes from?
I didn't know that.
I think it does. I could be wrong.
Christrisma. That's how I pronounce it usually.
Yeah.
No,
yeah. I mean, it's got that connection, and he's got that. And
how? Why?
Well, he's well spoken, which isn't always a value that transcends to what we want. There's some people that are pretty slick, and we've seen that in Washington politics now. But he's well spoken. He's clear. He's concise. And the big thing is, he's not a politician. He says he's not a politician. He was threatened by the Washington politicians if he got into this race, because I think they saw the glow there. They saw the brightness there. And they don't want, this is my opinion, of course, they did it with Bernie, a progressive who was sweeping the country, just storming across the country. And of course, Biden ended up getting in. Suddenly, there was a reversal with South Carolina. And that's old stuff now. But
he because it was Chuck Schumer who supported Janet Mills. So we got to set it up a little bit.
And Mills wasn't even in the race at that.
Right. So Governor Janet Mills, and then Susan Collins is the U.S. senator and has been forever.
Incumbent. She
always skates. She always is predicted to lose, and somehow she wins because
she wins big, even after being predicted.
Because last time it was I wrote Sarah Gideon.
That's right.
And so she was ahead of the polls. This is whenever she ran 6 years ago now.
Yeah, 6 years ago.
And then Susan Collins pulled it out. But the tough thing about having Susan Collins is that she's head of the Appropriations Committee or something.
Yeah.
So she brings a ton of money to Maine.
She brings a ton of money to Maine. She's got a lot of connections, and she's a pivotal seat that the Republicans.
Why did Janet Mills drop out?
It must be. She said. I mean, the polls were, devastating. She really didn't have a prayer. And there's another fellow that's running, Jordan Woods is running as a Democrat in the primary that'll be coming up. So Mills dropped out. She said she just didn't have the money to continue.
So she wasn't getting the funding.
She wasn't getting the funding.
And who's backing Plattner?
It's grassroots. It's been the small donations, the $5, $10, $20 donations across the state. And he raised, I don't know what the figure was. It was in the millions in the first week when he announced. People are looking for a change. We've always been looking for a change. This system across the board is not working. It's just not working for it. So that platform of change is.
Do you sense that?
Is interesting.
Because and back when Trump was an agent of change or thought
absolutely,
was, and people were there were some people who were either going to vote for Bernie or Trump.
Yeah.
Just because they represent the change. So Plattner, and he's very progressive, isn't he?
Plattner.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's saying all the right things that ring with me, and a lot of progressives have been criticized for being just too far out there. But if you look at the points they're making, it's not extreme. Universal health care, that's not extreme. That is so, everybody wants it, but no one's doing anything about it. It's not going in that direction. And they compare us with, all the issues and the problems of Canada's national health care. And our health care system, no one in this country agrees that it works. Even if you have insurance. If you don't have insurance, then it's totally devastating. If you do have insurance, you still can't get in to see a doctor, particularly here in a relatively rural community. You can't get in, and it still costs a fortune. People are going bankrupt with insurance, separate from. So that's the type of thing that needs to be discussed. It needs to be made right, and there are many, many reasons why it's not, and it all comes down to the dollar.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm on Medicare, which is universal care, and I think it works great. That's what it is.
Well, that's you have Medicare A and B. The B part is.
I pay a premium.
Covered. Right.
Everybody should pay something.
Right. So it should be Medicare for all. It's only until you get to be 65 or 70. I forget what it is.
For what? For Medicare?
Yeah.
65.
65. Yeah. So why isn't that across the board for everybody? That's what it. That's what it should be. We pay into it all along, and there's no reason why. And there are different levels of that. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's reasonable. It's workable. Another Maine politician, I don't know if you've been following it along at all, is Narav Shah, who
gubernatorial.
Yes, he's running for the governor position, and he was the COVID guy. He headed the Maine CDC and came on every day and really saved people's lives with reasonable positions on what people should do and not inject bleach or get in the sun more, or whatever that was, going around at the time. And I've heard him 3 times. He seems like a perfect candidate, perfect.
Who's
person.
running? Who's going to be running? Because he's like a biologist and a this and a that.
Well,
he's brilliant.
Shaw is an MD with an extensive background. He's also got a law degree, and he's worked in economics at some point along his way. So I mean, yeah,
who's going to run against him?
Well, there are I don't know, five or six Democrats that are running.
No, but who's going to run against them in the?
Well, the primary hasn't,
Right, the primary's in Maine.
Yeah, and Mills is termed out, so there's no incumbent.
Right.
It's an open seat.
But he's probably going to get through the primary.
Well, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
There are 5 or 6. Troy Jackson, big labor candidate. Shanna Bellows, who's the Secretary of State.
Okay, so you get some.
She's running. There, Hannah Pingree, the daughter of
Shelley Pingree?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, she's running. It seems like I'm surprised you're not running. Oh, you're not in Maine.
No,
so you.
I would. Though. I would run.
So
but I don't have my mother's not a congressperson.
Yeah, it was funny. I've been knocking on doors. We can talk about that a little bit later. I've been knocking on doors, and I came to one door, and I said, hey, I'm running for the State House, and the guy misunderstood. He said, "Oh, for governor? You're running for governor?"
Who isn't?
But yeah, who isn't? I think, and he wasn't joking. He just didn't know.
So but back to Plattner.
Yeah, back to Plattner. He so I've watched him in the news.
All right. Do you know what the polls are? Is he ahead of Susan Collins?
He's ahead, way ahead of Mills.
Well, she's out.
Well, this is what drove that, in the polls, and Jordan Woods. I met him. Hell of a nice guy, competent. He had a lot of positions in the federal government, I believe. We both worked for Ted Kennedy back in 79, 80. So we had that to talk about. Smart guy. He's just not going anywhere. In the polls. So now the polls between Susan Collins and Graham Plattner, he's ahead. And of course, people are reserved with the polls because they haven't always worked that way.
Do you get a sense in Maine that you traveled around that Maine is always a weird purplish state because it's so conservative in the rural world and tend to be very liberal in Portland, which is obviously the biggest
city. Cities and in my district, it's very rural, and traditionally in the past, 10, 12 years, it's been Republican leading. I think there's a sea change, and I'd like to see those the red and blue dissolve. I think we're all kind of grinding it out in the Rocky Maine soils together, and those labels just don't mean what they used to mean. And some people are hanging on to the Washington Republican, and I can't understand that. I'll be honest, that's insanity that's going on in Washington with the leader of the party saying that he is going to devastate an entire culture.
Yeah, no, that's a whole.
It's a whole other thing, but it gets down to local politics because some people are still holding on to that, in spite of being sold a bad bill of goods. Prices haven't come down. The word grocery now is of issue. Yeah. So when people still are holding on to things that are not working, then it's very difficult. But I think there's a huge portion of the Republican, moderate, conservative population that I'm all for a lot of, I think we have a lot of common ground. And I'd like to see that emphasized more and more.
Well, what's interesting, there were a bunch of elections in the Midwest yesterday, and the analysis is all the Trump. They were state Senate races. I forget, it was Indiana or someplace. It was in Indiana, yeah. and all this. There were like 5 state Senate races, which usually don't make the radar of anybody.
Right.
And all the Trump people won, but the analysis is that because it's a primary, but those same Trump candidates are going to have trouble in the general.
In the general.
So it is an interesting sea change. But getting back to Plattner, I didn't get the photo down, and when he was in Freiburg, where was he, at Mallorca or someplace?
He was at Mallorca.
There was a huge crowd.
Huge.
Can you put up the photo of him, Rob, please? So there he is. He's talking to Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
And that's just the photo I found of him. That's what he looks like. But the big thing they're going to go after him with, thanks, Rob. The big thing they're going to go after him with, which even Janet did, is this Totenkopf skull thing that he had on his.
Right.
So can you bring that up to see what it looks like? So that's an old SS hat.
Yeah.
And it's that symbol with the skull and crossbones is something the Prussians had. It's just that thing.
Yeah.
And and he had that on his chest. Okay, go ahead.
I talked to him about it, and this is what a lot of people bringing up.
And they're going to.
They're going to, and they should. And I think he's handled it very well. I even shouldn't put it that he's handled it very well. I think he explained it very well. I didn't see, you can talk to somebody, you can tell if they're being straight or not, or if they're manipulating kind of choosing their words. If you're a real politician. He said, I was with a bunch of other Marines overseas. We went from bar to bar. We went into a tattoo shop together.
It's like in Bosnia or someplace. I think it was in Bosnia.
It could have been Bosnia. And he said, we looked at the options, and he said, we didn't want to get a unicorn. And I thought that was meaningful. He said they're out there, they're fighting. This is real stuff. And so they wanted this thing to unify them all, and they looked at the skull and crossbones. He said he didn't know it was a Nazi symbol or used by the Nazis, whether it originally was or not, but used by them is enough. He didn't know that until it was brought up in the news.
Yeah, and it's, actually it's a little, who knows? The Republicans are going to use it against him, but for real conservatives.
Well, let me interrupt you and say one thing.
Yeah.
How can the Republicans
I know you get it.
criticize a tattoo with what's gone on in Washington? Really. That shouldn't even be on the table. And unfortunately, I like Janet Mills too. I met with her at Freiburg Fair. She asked if, because I was running, she wanted to meet me. And I spent 2.5 hours with her walking around. We didn't talk politics. She was great.
What'd she eat?
What is that?
What did she eat at the Freiburg Fair?
Oh, she had a sandwich. I went up to the window and got it for her. But I think it might have been ham and cheese. I think it was a ham and cheese sandwich. And she was nice. Her granddaughters came up and met us for a few minutes and wandered around. But I had a lot of time with her, and I think she's done very well in Maine for all of us. But she used that negative campaign ad with him looking intoxicated in his underwear in a bar, ranting and raving, and it didn't go well for her. That was not the way to go. And things went downhill after that. And she didn't put any other ads on after that. And he said to me, they must have spent millions digging that up, that old stuff. He didn't have a defense. He just said, I'm not the same person that I was. Right. And none of us are the same people that we were before. And he said, if that's all they could find, whew, I was lucky, because he was a kid,
And I think it's such a double-edged sword, whether it's Democrat or Republican, when you do that kind of stuff, because everybody has that kind of stuff in their background,
we don't have as much of that. Because we didn't have the social media stuff.
Right.
We weren't putting that stuff on every day.
Right.
People are putting stuff on every single day. I can't imagine that it works.
No 20-year-old is ever going to run for office.
That's right.
Because there'd be too much stuff.
That's
all right. So let's talk a few minutes about. So and also Janet Mills. She's 78. So
that's a big.
Let's
not go the age route here with me being.
Well, you ain't 78. So.
No, I'm not 78, but I think we do need a group of younger politicians there. My term would be 2 years, starting.
All right. So you ran against who's Caleb Ness, right?
Caleb Ness is running against me now as a Republican in this House
and he
race
won,
for 82.
Even though you said the Republicans had won, many held that seat mostly for the last 10 years. He only won last time by like 40 votes or something.
The last time he ran, it was 45 votes against Nate Burnett.
And that was just this last time?
No, he's not in office now. It's an open seat. Nate Wadsworth is our representative now. And
right, so
he
Nate
was the representative before Caleb Ness ran. So
right.
Caleb Ness ran for one session, and then Wadsworth has come back, but he's not running again.
Okay. Okay. So, and how's your campaign? How's your campaign going?
You know, I have nothing to compare it with, but as we talked about, you know, over a year ago, you know, I really knew very, very little as far as the procedure goes. And now I feel like I'm pretty savvy as far as what's going on.
What insights can you share to us? Like that's would be interesting about being on the inside of politics.
Yeah, well, there's definitely a machine, and I had spoken with a good friend of mine, Dave Hastings, about running. He's a Republican. He's been a state senator for a long time, and a good old friend of mine. And I said, you know, I'm thinking about running as an independent. That's really where my heart is. I'm not thrilled with what either party has done, not so much in the state, but nationally. And he said, you can't do it. You've got to be involved with the party. I mean, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. And he said, yeah, that's right. You need somebody to talk with. And if you get in there with an independent, you can caucus with the Democrats, but you really need to have some direction there. So I reached out to the Oxford County Democrats, just looked it up online. David said, you know, they've got to have a website. So I went there. Well, they didn't have a website at the time. They had a Facebook page, and so I made a connection. And before I knew it, I was the candidate. And they thought, you know, that this would be an opportunity to possibly flip this
How does the funding work in Maine?
Well, it's that's something I was totally green about.
Right.
Knew nothing about it, and it's a great system that's actually being used as a model across the country. It's the Clean Election Act, which went into effect several years ago. And someone like me can declare that I'll be a clean election candidate and not take any outside money, other than I could take up to $1,000 donated only in increments no more than $100 from anyone in the country. Total capped $1,000. And of course, all my friends, you know, gave. Well, I don't remember if.
I didn't.
I'm joking. I'm joking. I didn't even.
Maine's another country to us.
It's another country. So that's seed money. Then once you have your $1,000 seed money, you can collect qualifying contributions. And I needed 60 $5 donations only from people, voters, registered voters, either Republican or Democrat, within the district.
Okay.
65 donations. And each of those are matched by about 110 from the state.
Okay.
So it's a great way. You have to be able to get those. So
and that's all the money you can. That's all the money you have.
After that, after qualifying, I can continue to collect $5 donations up to 180 of them, which I've done.
That's only like $700.
But each one of those is matched by the state.
Okay, so there's 100. So there's $7,000.
180 times 5.
Well, 180.
We'll have Rob do it.
Yeah, it's like 800 or 900. 800 or 900.
It's
180 what?
$185 contributions. Right. So,
so that's 800 or 900.
180 times 110.
Well, that's 600. 550.
No, it's like 19,000.
Oh, with $100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
$110 for every $5 donation, and I can get 100 180.
Okay,
so
got
it's
it.
180 by 110.
Okay. Okay,
So
that's
enough for-
$18,000.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So that's signs and
Now, is that just for state reps, or does it go up the chain if you're?
it goes up the chain. You can, but it gets the numbers change.
Okay, that's what I meant. So if you're running gubernatorial, you get 100,000 or 50,000 or something.
Yeah, but you have to get not 60 to qualify. You need like 700 or 1,000 or 1,500. I don't know.
And that's all the money you can take?
And that's all the money I can. It's all the money you can need. What else do you need money for? I just have to get out there, get my name out there, tell people what I stand for, and that should be enough. And I have the option to not run on a clean election, and I can take anything. I could take $10,000 from you and put ads on every 20 minutes.
So you have 18,000. You've received 18,000 bucks.
I haven't received it yet. After the primary, which is smart. I might not win the primary. I mean, I will win the primary,
right.
But there are other people that might not win their primary, right. So those funds don't get dispersed. It's really, the more I see the way it's working out, it's a great system, and money, I believe, is the root of all evil in politics.
It's certainly one of the roots for sure. And if you don't spend all that, let's say you get to, obviously you're running unopposed. Right. If you had a devious plan, could you not do this? And then the minute that you get past the primary, you get $18,000 and you drop out and you have $18,000 in your pocket.
I think it has to go back. What isn't spent, it's an account that they monitor. I believe so. I can't believe. I mean, it's easy to spend it because I can, and there are qualifications what you spend it on. I can spend it on gas, but I don't have to. I can put my own gas in.
All right, so that has to be election related.
Right. It's got to be election related, and it's got to be reasonable election related. You know,
so you keep receipts for all this stuff.
Oh yeah, it's all all monitored, and I can't use any of my own money. I can't buy a sign for my front lawn.
You can pay for your own lunch when you're driving around.
I can pay for my own lunch.
All right. Well, I'm going to congratulate you already.
Oh, well, that's
even though
good.
The election isn't. Even though the election is June, what is it, 6th or 8th?
June 6th.
June 6th.
Yeah, it's the primary.
Yeah, it's the primary.
Yeah. And we're encouraging people, I'm encouraging people to come out, because that'll give us a sense of, and knocking on doors, everybody is involved.
Now, so Ness is running against you.
Yes.
So would you come on here with Ness and have a little debate?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
All right, that'll be fun.
Oh, that would be great. I'd love for you to do that.
I'll quiz him about birds. See how he does.
No cheating. I want this to be. I've met the guy. He's a likable guy.
Yeah,
he's been up there before. He knows what he's getting into, and I just think that I want to be involved. I think I can make some reasonable decisions.
All right, so we're going to leave that because you've already won, and there's not much more to say about that, Chris. So we got a couple minutes left. Let's talk about birds just for 5 minutes.
Yeah, all right.
Like what's going on this spring? We've had early spring with not much snow. I was reading that because when I went on your birders, we went to Freiburg, we saw sandhill cranes, right?
Right.
And there was a sighting down in Ossipee already of sandhill cranes, which to me is an amazing thing that there are sandhill cranes here.
It really is, and it's kind of old hat now. They've started to come through. I looked up the other day, I think over 10 years ago, we just started to first see them. And why is that? Well, there's a natural expansion of range with any birds, and if they can find a habitat that's conducive for them. So that's why we get these anomalies. Every once in a while you get one bird that shows up. It might be that they're just wired to roam. And,
where are they normally from, sandhill cranes?
Well, there's a big Midwestern population of them.
Okay, so they're not southern birds.
And there's a population in Florida.
Okay, because you always think of cranes down south.
No.
No.
Well, that's the only crane that we've. What other cranes do we have? I don't think. No, you're thinking of a similar shaped bird like the egrets and white herons.
Right.
Cranes are different. It's a different family. It's interesting.
Right. So what else is going on this spring? Is there anything unusual so far?
No, the migration is on. It seems to be maybe a little slow. I don't think we've had any huge waves that have come through, but typically by the 10th of May, we have just about all the representatives back. Not all the population back, but there are a few birds from each species back here for nesting. Our warblers, usually the the buzz of the spring, because we can see them all, and we have a lot that are coming through. We have, I think it's 52 species of warblers in North America, and in Maine we have 30, 35
really?
Species that you can see here, and maybe closer to 20 that actually nest here. So it's an opportunity to see some of these birds that are traveling, going further north.
Do we have, my son lives in, right now anyway, he lives down in Exeter.
Yeah.
And I was visiting him
Brett.
a couple of weeks ago. There are cardinals everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, but I know people see cardinals here, but we must be at the ends of the range, right, for cardinals?
Well, I think they go, probably generally speaking. Now, does Brett live in more of a
No, it's downtown.
town
Yeah.
environment?
Yeah.
So they're a town bird. They're kind of a city bird for one reason or another. Maybe feeders. I mean, they're a good feeder bird. Big finch bill for opening up seeds.
What birds can people look for that are going from south up to Canada now?
Yeah. Well, blackpoll warbler is a bird it's a northern nesting warbler that comes. It has an incredible migration, absolutely incredible migration, and they'll be coming through. Some of them probably already, but they come through a little bit on the later part because they're heading north. But we do have them on Mount Washington because that's an Arctic environment up at the summit there. So they nest in the crumholts, down 3,000, 4,000 feet, and that's a great, handsome, small warbler. And so you can see them on, we've seen them in Brownfield Bog as they're moving through. And then in the fall, I mean, it's just incredible. Tiny birds, 10, 12 grams. They'll leave Mount Washington, they'll leave the boreal forest of Canada, and they head out over the Atlantic. And they fly nonstop until they hit South America. And they'll go in and spend the non-breeding season in Brazil. Crazy. But then they have a reverse migration, and they'll come up over land, and that's what they're doing now.
Speaking about Washington, to me, it's a fascinating story on Saturday about how there's a movement to make Mount Washington a World Heritage Site.
Oh, really? I hadn't heard that.
And it was voted. There's none in New England, for one thing. Like Grand Canyon, there's like 1,000 of them or hundreds of them around the world. Pyramids,
yes.
Grand
I've
Canyon.
been to a couple. I can't remember, what that designation, but it's impressive.
It is, but it was voted. It was I don't know what the commission was. It was 9-1, and one person voted against it. Now, why do you think that person did?
They don't want to increase the number of people.
It was Howie Weems.
It was Howie. Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that.
Totally makes sense.
That reminds me, I did my osprey graduate work up on Lake Umbagog years ago, and 85, 86, 87 or something. And it was a wild place up there. It was just wild. Ospreys all over the place. A couple of pairs of eagles. That was where the first pair of eagles that came back after a 40-year gap of eagles nesting in New Hampshire. They came back to the same tree that they had nested in back in 1949. They came back in 1989 to the same tree. Just a perfect habitat, fish. And so I did my graduate work up there, and it was just wild. And for a few years after that, it was just a great place to go. It's still a great place to go. But they made it a national wildlife refuge.
Oh, you mean a lot of people now?
A lot of people.
Yeah.
Traffic, boat traffic, at times. So I can see where that, somebody approached me after my graduate work up there, and they were doing a book on canoe trails. And they said, hey, would you write something up about Umpagog? I said, no, I won't. I want to keep it as much of a secret as possible. But that's a double-edged sword,
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword. But that's interesting to hear about Howie, and it sounds like Howie. Howie's savvy.
No, you definitely. You know, I used to go up because I'm a Berlin guy. I used to go up in Umbagog in high school a lot with friends and camps and stuff.
Yeah,
and it's a great place. I just remember the moose flies were like that big.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's some issues at times. When I was doing my work, it was the mosquitoes. I would sit and watch an osprey nest for 4 hours. 4 hours, and just document, prey deliveries coming in, other interactions with the species and so forth. And I was, in a blind, and I couldn't get out of my bug outfit. They were just ferocious because they've got a lot of mammals up there, wild mammals that they're feeding on, and having a human is a big anomaly. The word got out with the mosquitoes. Hey, we got a human over in the blind here. I'm sure that's.
I never understood that.
The way it works.
I never understood how so many mosquitoes can live if they really need to survive on blood.
Blood.
Like, what else do they do? I mean, you can go, there's zillions of mosquitoes out there.
Right. Well, there's and this is just a great example of the way so many systems work. It's a great example of overpopulation. I mean, they put out, not thousands, but millions.
Right.
And in the right habitat, they had, and only the ones that are successful, only the females that get the blood to lay their eggs are the ones that get past. So there's an evolution in being a good mosquito. If they're a good mosquito, you can be in the right place at the right time and get some blood, then that selfish gene gets passed on to the next generation. But there are a lot that don't make it.
Most of them. I mean, really like 99.9%, I would think.
That's all you need, is that 1% that is successful. Because I don't know, it'd be interesting to look and see how many mosquito eggs get laid in stagnant water. Yeah.
Well, you're pretty successful, Chris, and I know you're going to at least get through the primary.
Well, thanks for the encouragement. And I've had so much encouragement like that. Not because of me, just because of the change in the time, and just because of the sea change. And I think I'll do a good job. I mean, I wouldn't do it if I didn't think I'd be good at it. So thanks for that encouragement. All right, Mike.
And we'll get together after during the summer sometime. We'll see if we can get Caleb here.
Yeah, let's
work.
Debate. That would be awesome. A discussion with him would be great.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay, take care.
Thanks.